Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. Soccer down here on the SDH network. John here, you there. Busy show for a Thursday, especially in hour number 2. Rundown for the morning is 9:15. We catch up with Willie Davis, the head coach of North Carolina Courage and their U23s. They're hosting the USLW Women's Championship. Colorado Storm coming from Fort Collins, and that is this weekend. So we'll catch up with him. Yet another win. You know how things are. Coaches and owners are, they may not be. What was it that John Schuster said yesterday? He's not superstitious. He's just a little stitious. So Willie Davis coming in, morning, Alex. And Willie Davis will be in at 9:15. 9:30 till 10 o'clock, we'll talk about Atlanta United and the 2-2 draw with NYC. And I've got my standard rant available. I just have to pull it out of the drawer. And we'll go over the goals and your thoughts and all of that. Hour number 2 is Nino Torres from Gold TV. We're going to talk to him about Copa America and what we've seen from that and the fallout and his thoughts of the tournament and what it's like to call a 6-0 surprise on Gold TV, because he called Nacional and Danubio on the weekend, one of the matches that he got to call. And I was drifting through my channels and got the chance to see that match, and I was shell-shocked. And so we catch up with Nino about what's going on in his world, Copa America, and anything else on his mind. Opening kickoff coming up in just a sec. And then at 10:30, last half hour of the show, Niko Moreno joining us from the Sports Bar and from Pulso Sports, and we'll talk about the rest of Major League Soccer and what happened in the midweek yesterday. So line up your comments here in the first half hour. We'll talk about Atlanta United and NYC from 9:30 till 10 o'clock. But yes, Willie Davis coming in at 9:15. And hour number 2 is the Nino and Niko show as they come in. Opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching, however you're watching us this morning, whether it is on the 280-character app, and that's a new one. We got that one back yesterday on Twitch or on our YouTube's channel. And you can use that QR code. You click into Kickoff Coffee. You kick off your day with it. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvested in youth games, youth initiatives, and cool stuff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Okay. Before, I was almost at 9:06 this morning. And reason why. Hang on just a second. Okay. I didn't want to do that, like, over the air. Have you ever, like, right before you had to do something, have you had to, like, clear your throat, blow your nose, anything like that that just kind of got in the way? I had to do that this morning, and I couldn't quite figure out what it was, and I thought it was like a combination of both. I was about ready to hit the go live button at 9:05 to start things off, and it's like I couldn't figure out what was wrong. Is it, do I sniff? Do I try to clear my throat that way? Do I clear my throat? Do I cough? Do I sneeze? Whatever. And I thought I was on the verge of a sneeze. And I've always been told to either breathe quickly or think of, like, citrus fruits. And then that way you'll sneeze and you'll get the sneeze out of your system. But that wasn't working. And trying to sit and, and maybe clear your throat that way, one of those, that wasn't working either. And so I was kind of in a panic trying to figure out, okay, how do I get rid of this problem and get on the air and try to make sure that we got on the air at 9:05, and maybe 9:06 if things continue to go along. I just want to know if those of you on the Twitch pitch or watching on YouTube or Twitter have ever had the same kind of thing. It's like you're about to do something that requires talking or being in public, and it was trying to fix it, but it wasn't fixing itself. And what ended up fixing it, strangely enough, was me getting up out of the chair and wandering into the bathroom, because I don't know if it was just gravity or, standing up straight or whatever, but that got everything squared away to where I didn't have to sneeze, but then I got to clear my throat. And then I raced back into the chair to get the 9:05 start. I didn't know if, and Alex is saying it wasn't quite a snoffing fit. It was almost there, but it was like one after the other. And it was sitting in the chair where I was almost having the snoffing fit. But then I stood up, and like I said, I don't know how this happened, and I'm going to have to remember this. I stood up and walked away, and then I was able to, maybe it was just the positioning of the diaphragm or something, the fact that I was standing as opposed to sitting where everything is kind of crushed with your breathing. But legitimately, I stood up, and that gave me the chance to clear out everything. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why. But in the panic of trying to figure out how to make sure that you could understand a word that I was saying and I wasn't, one of those, standing up actually cleared that up. Didn't cough, didn't sneeze, but I was able to clear my throat and got on at 9:05. So that was the revelation of the morning. I guess gravity helps, and the taller you become, the less of an issue it ends up being. So that was opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching, however you're watching us this morning, whether it's on Twitter, if it's on Twitch, or if it's on the 280 character app or whatever you call it these days, or on our YouTube channel right there. Use that QR code and you click on it. That gets you into Kickoff Coffee. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest it in youth games, youth initiatives, stuff that they have earmarked as cool, as Carlito says. That is cool. And so that's our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Also, don't forget our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps over my left shoulder. If you want to have a career in nursing, over 30 years of experience from our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps, right there, you can hit that QR code if I get my finger out of the way. And then what you can also do is, maybe if I brought it closer to the screen, right there. If you're looking for a career in nursing, hit that QR code. And as it says right there, how did you hear about us? Select Soccer Down Here. And your new career, if you are interested in a career in nursing, right there for you from our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps. Alliance Nurse Corps, great partners here with us here at SDH. And to Alex's point, like I said, we'll get into this at 9:30 as a part of the greater fit for Atlanta United. Garth was on the pregame show, and so I would go to 929thegame.com and then click in the podcasts. The pregame show should be in there in the Off the Woodwork section. You can listen to Garth and find out what Garth was saying yesterday and Off the Woodwork as the build. And we'll continue here with all of that, the money that we've been discussing with Atlanta United and what they're looking for. No updates on any of the dudes other than the discussion about Sliš and Udinese. Depending on where you are looking, there might be something to it, there might not. But right now, it's Cristaldo from Gremio. It is Miranchuk from Atalanta. It is probably, who knows what's going on. Since the trade window is officially open the floodgates, and that's where you are. Okay, first guest of the day. Now, like I said, first guest of several. And it is where the North Carolina Courage are chasing after a championship in USLW. They get to host it this time. And we get to bring in head coach of North Carolina Courage U23 on the women's side in USLW, Willie Davis. Coach Davis is going to come in and he's going to discuss what's going on because morning, Coach.
Morning.
As I was explaining to folks this time of year, you end up with coaches or front office personnel or players who they say that they aren't superstitious, they're a little stitious. How stitious are you when it comes to this time of year, when it comes to your rituals and locking everything in place? Do you do the same things? If something works, do you stick with it? Or is it just, we are where we are?
Morning, John. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure.
We try to stay pretty true to what we're doing. We'll follow a similar format that we followed last Thursday, which was our last session. We did, you got to change a few things here. Like we would have initially trained on a Thursday and given the players off on a Friday and come out to play on Saturday, but we elected to give them off today and train tomorrow, partially because of some of the USL things. They were coming in to do promo stuff and all that. But we'll stick with the same format and kind of what we do, add a couple small things. There's little things, I guess, maybe I didn't even think about it till you said that, but we got like some new gear for part two, but I told the team we're going to warm up in our same things and what have you. So I mean, there's a few things we'll tweak, but for the most part, we try to stay it's the same.
I was going to say, I mean, and I don't refer to it as superstition myself. I refer to it as ritual because it's the same thing that you've done over and over and over again. And to me, that's ritualistic. It's not necessarily superstitious unless you believe in those kinds of things. Are you superstitious at all? Or is it just, superstitions for you are just kind of like, yeah, I'm going to put you over here and I don't worry about it.
No, I don't think I really am superstitious. I think I'm probably more in the ritual side, like you said. And I believe in the things that we've done that works. And if they don't work, I get rid of it, scrap it, and try to change it. But for the most part, I don't think I'm superstitious.
All right. So are there any of the players that do they sit there? Do they wear the same boots? Do they wear the same do they wear the same shirt at practice every day, or is everybody just kind of like, yeah, I'm going to go out there and do my thing and whatever happens, happens?
Yeah, I mean, when you got a group, diverse, different groups of personalities coming from different worlds, different backgrounds, what have you, there's always going to be something, but nothing that's blown me away. I mean, you've got some few kids that have gone through the same boots, and you got to tell them, the ref might not let you wear those. Just time for put some new ones on. But, they think they'll try to tape them up, or some that just believe in putting one sock on before the other one all the time. But nothing that's just blown me away that I haven't seen. So,
all right, so let's get into what is happening this weekend. Playoff bracket. You're coming out of the upper right for those that were filling in brackets from the absolute beginning, and it's Tennessee SC, and we've known what Coach Fisher and them have been able to do and build this season. So break down the matchup and what happened to get you into the last two of the year.
Yeah, they were very organized. They made it very difficult for you to beat them in the half spaces or around the outside corners, what have you. Pretty athletic. They had a set game plan coming into it. You could tell, again, just like we did on them. They watched film and video and was going to make it difficult. I felt like they had some very good players going forward when they tried to break on the counter. But I felt what we did was, a lot of teams that we play that way against us. It's just going to be a matter of each round, the quality of the players you play against gets better, obviously. So, we kind of had a mindset of the way it may look coming into the game. I felt like we handled it quite well. I felt where we weren't great on the day, which hadn't been the same throughout the playoffs and most of the season, was in our final phase. We got in a lot of good positions, just didn't do a good job with the service, the cross, or the finish wasn't, accurate enough or what have you. So the game was pretty tight as far as scoreline and what have you until I think the 92nd minute. And we unfortunately gave up a penalty and they scored it. And, we went to overtime and I could tell that there were some of the gamesmanship starting to go on as far as a little bit of time wasting, what have you. And we weren't playing for penalties. We wanted to try to get the game done if we could during the time in. And we were lucky enough to have a player step up and score a worldie of a goal in injury time. So it was a little pretty more stressful than we needed it to be, but it was a great game to have going into the final.
That was probably one of the best undersells I've heard in quite some time about the goal that was scored, because for those that don't know the story, it's a familiar face for Coach Davis, who scored that goal that ended up advancing them to the title game. And you've known this person for 17 years, I believe. And and so let me ask, it was your daughter, Siri. And I'm underselling it now too. But when you have a moment like that, where your daughter scores a goal that is that important and you're the head coach, and it gets you to a title game that you're going to host, you can sleep in your own bed. Folks from Fort Collins, Colorado have to hop a flight out of Denver and make their way to, make their way to the triangle. What is it like for you as a dad to see a moment like that? Or are you a coach? Do you have a dad moment on the sideline? Are you still a coach until the whistle blows? How does that work?
Yeah, it's funny. It kind of gives me chills just you describing it because it's a moment that you just don't expect. You never know if you'll have one of those. Obviously, I'm lucky enough to coach her, and we're in a situation where it's a good relationship in our coaching relationship. She's not a type of player that struggles with it, and the moment itself was pretty remarkable for any player. But with that being said, she's a defensive midfielder, so she doesn't score a ton of goals. And she's a youth player. So, my expectations was she was going to possibly get about, when I put her in, maybe like 20, 25 minutes because, we were hoping we could lock the game down and not have to go to overtime, but we did. I did have a dad moment for about 10, 15 seconds, maybe. I just couldn't believe it. I was just as excited and blown away as everybody else. But then after I kind of gathered myself, I realized, one of the last times we scored a pretty quality goal early on the season against Tormenta, they scored right after, within, I think, a minute and a half. So I had to tune back in and get the team, mentally set. And one of the good things I saw about that when I watched the video was Heather, our other, our player assistant, Heather O'Reilly, she straight away started getting the team kind of mentally checked back in. But to be honest, John, it really hit me more a day or two later. And one of my old college teammates was talking to me about it. And he said, that's just a moment that you'll be able to talk about with your daughter for years. And, it's really cool because you just never know if you'll ever have those. So.
All right. So let me see if I've got the emotional timeline here. She scored, your coach, you send her in, your coach. So you're thinking, okay, maybe a couple of minutes. Then you go to OT. You're still coach. She scores as a 6, I would imagine. Then you go dad for 10 or 15 seconds. Then you're like, okay, we're not done. I've got to go back to being a coach. Then you get final whistle. Do you go back to dad, or do you still have coach and then go through post-game talk and then go back to dad? How do we go back from dad to coach to dad here? What's the curve?
Yeah, dad first, obviously, when she went in. And I remember we talked about it yesterday, probably about 3 minutes into the game when she was in. She didn't go in for a tackle and the girl beat her and I lit into her. And so it was coach. And then, she scores the goal and it was dad for like a few seconds. And then I went back to coach. And then I looked down the sideline and all the girls are going crazy, yelling at me, saying, "That's Siri, that's Siri." So there's like a little 2-3 second dad moment again, and then back to coach. And then at the end of the game, I kind of stayed away from her to let her have her time because, she was talking to everybody and she was glowing and buzzing. And so her and I really didn't have the dad-daughter moment until we got in the car because she rode there with me and back, which she typically doesn't do. And we talked about it. And, and then I had a moment in the car when I was on the phone with our youth CEO, Gary Butte. And he and I were chatting, whatever, and he was just so excited for her because I've known Gary for 20 plus years and a good friend of mine. And he talked about it. So it gave me more dad moments with her, just hearing him talk because, all of his kids have gone through the game and he has one right now that's finished up at NC State. So he's had a lot of those. So it was very cool. And the timeline was kind of, like I said, up and down. But right after the game, I stayed away from her for a while to let her have her moments with her team and fans and stuff like that. So
you mentioned a name of one of your assistant coaches, and I wanted to ask about this.
Sure.
And yes, Heather O'Reilly is that Heather O'Reilly. For folks that are wondering, it's like, yes, he did say Heather O'Reilly. What's it like having HOR as a part of your staff and having that kind of a listening post and someone that you can bounce ideas off of and have her bounce ideas off of you about the day-to-day and what it have to do in key situations like that? What's it like having HOR around?
Yeah, I mean, but just before we kind of get into that, I do want to mention also that my first assistant, Nick, he's been fantastic. He's been with me all 3 years, and he's but I think he was kind of in the moment like me at that time. So having Heather, it's different from a standpoint. The coaching thing doesn't blow me away because Heather's still cutting her teeth. She's still going through her licensing. She's still working her way through the world and that side of things. So So it doesn't blow me a bit away. But what blows me away about Heather, a couple of things. One, she's down to earth. She's easy to talk to. She's as whatever normal means in this world. She's still a normal person based on her accomplishments. And I think one of the worst things you can see is when people allow their accomplishments to put them where they feel like they're elevated as human beings above others. And that's where what Heather doesn't do. I think the big thing for Heather is any and everything that any player has ever done or wants to do, Heather's been there and done that. She can see the game. I think she's starting to see the game as a coach more, but as a player, she has a perspective that nobody in our organization, maybe with the exception of Cindy Parlow Cone, that have. So Heather, when she's a player coach, I haven't played her in a ton of games this year, but when she trains at a level that's even our top ACC kids on our team, I still think don't come close to replicating. Heather is a winner in her mindset. She believes in winning, and that's you look at what we've done over the last few years. That's great to have that mindset. And then just it's funny. I think a lot of the kids are now just past saying Heather O'Reilly. At training, they're realizing that Heather is in some regards one of them, and she's just, for me, I think it's crazy when kids don't utilize her knowledge and everything that she knows about being a high level player and human being.
When was the last time North Carolina Courage lost a match?
National finals this time last year.
How long has that stuck with you?
Obviously I think about it because, we traveled, was in overtime. Lauren Martino, who unfortunately we lost early in the year with a torn ACL. Lauren in the first game of the year, actually. Lauren, put it level for us. And then the goal that we conceded was kind of it was against a team that had a few former NWSL players. And, we had a fairly young team. And I felt like their experience put them over the top, and their fan base and environment. It didn't stick with me from a standpoint of being bitter. I felt like the game could have gone either way. I don't want to necessarily say the better team won, but the better team in a couple key moments, I think, won the game. Yeah. For me, it wasn't about that. Obviously, our conference changed. We had new teams. We went to a different the Eastern Conference, so I didn't know what to expect. I felt like I wanted to do a better job of putting together a team that could, believe it or not, John, score more goals than we did last year. Yeah. And if we got in these situations that we had a few players that could create a few more goals on their own, I felt like we did do that to a certain degree. And I just felt like, as I watched us play, we were giving ourselves a chance to try to get back to where we wanted to get. And so that was the big thing for me. It wasn't bitterness. It was just, okay, what can we do to be a little bit better than last year?
So now Colorado Storm is traveling from one end of the planet to the other. And how much tape have you seen? Are you just kind of putting it off to the side? Are you looking at general tendencies? Are you pouring into it? Are you in the catacombs there in Cary looking, like on a sub basement on an old film projector looking at Colorado Storm? How does this work?
Yeah, I would imagine Storm is just like us. We're watching quite a bit of film. I kind of broke it down and gave my assistants prior games of theirs to watch through the playoffs, and I've watched their last one multiple times, and we just kind of cut it. I try to be really intelligent on how much of that I let the players see, because sometimes players will watch a game of a team and say, oh, they're not that good, and you just never know till you get on the field. Storm has some top players. They've had a top season. Their coaching staff seems to have a real professional mindset, and I think a lot of them come out of a club that has a professional mindset. So I think that they've done a good job in putting that group together. But for me, yeah, I've watched a good bit of film. So has my assistants, and we cut certain things and show the kids some of it. We film our training and cut down training and show the kids, here's where things went well. Here's where things weren't in line with the tactics we're trying to set. In fact, I was doing that right before I got on with you. And, we told the players, we will try to treat this as professional and as close to maybe their college environment, whatever their college environment looked like, as we can, or better, so they can feel like this wasn't a wasted summer for them.
Kickoff 6:00, and if you are in the vicinity, and I'm talking area codes, drop by, because admission is free to get in the door as Courage is hosting Colorado Storm in the USL W League Final, and it is at the WRL Soccer Park Stadium. That's a part of that massive complex that you guys have. What else did I miss in the promo that folks need to know about this matchup with you and Colorado Storm as you're one match away from winning a title?
Yeah, I mean, I think arguably the two best teams in the country have found their way into the national final, and it's I think the brands are the way they play is fairly similar. So we hope to put on a show and have a great event for everybody.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in. I know it's a busy, as you know, what week for you as you are prepping and trying to make sure that you guys are as ready as possible. Thanks for coming on. I know that coaches, once again, they like to do this, and I know that I'm going to get hit by coaches in USL League 2 and the NPSL. I know they're coming because they're on the show, they win, and they're like, okay, when can we come on again? I know how this works. Good luck this weekend. Thanks for dropping by. Don't stare at monitors too long. You start looking like me, and you don't want to do that.
Thanks, John. I appreciate the time, and have a good one.
All right, we'll catch up with some of the players later on this afternoon, and that will be a separate broadcast. That'll be a separate element on the app. We're catching up with a couple of the North Carolina Courage players, and we're going to get the players' perspective as they get ready for the matchup against Colorado Storm. Once again, Saturday, 6 o'clock, WRL Soccer Park Stadium. Courage and Colorado Storm chasing after the title in the USLW League. And like I said, it's been fun to catch up with Coach Davis. And I had to ask the questions about, having a defensive midfielder score and that particular defensive midfielder. I should have asked about what it was like the next day at the breakfast table. What was it like for the family there? It's like, did Siri get to choose breakfast or something like that? I'm going to hold those questions for the next go around. Or actually, I'm going to ask later this afternoon. There's your tease. And that'll be out later this afternoon as well. Not going to waste a whole lot of time. Those interviews will be done this afternoon. We'll turn those interviews around, have that on the app. Go to Spreaker. It's like speaker with an R in the middle, .com, Spreaker.com. Do a search for Soccer Down Here. You can download the Spreaker app. You can set your notifications for Soccer Down Here. And then anytime that we do anything live or taped or anything that's posted to the network, you can go there. But, yeah, we're going to catch up with some of the players for Courage. And thanks to Coach Davis for orchestrating that. And then he mentioned the staff. And, we do gravitate toward, a name like Heather O'Reilly, but Nick Holt, the assistant, Kendall Fletcher, an assistant, Gio Solis is his keeper coach. And it's a great staff that has been assembled there. And so one win away from a national championship, and that game at the WRAL Soccer Park in Cary, North Carolina. USLW, it is North Carolina Courage hosting Colorado Storm. So I can't thank these coaches enough because they are – trying to run 9,000 miles an hour and trying to make sure that they can, get everything done. And then they come on a show like this and they get asked silly questions and, those kinds of things. So, no, it's always great to catch up with folks. Okay. Second half hour, we're going to talk about Atlanta United and NYCFC. And yes, we know. 2-0 lead, 2-2 finish, and after the match, Rob Valentino was not a happy man about it. If you got the chance to listen to the post-game show, and traditionally there's always the interview that is there involving Garrett Chapman and catching up with Coach, or Jason and catching up with the coach if it's on the road. If you listen to the interview that Chap had with Rob, it was 4 questions. It was 38 seconds, and Rob was not happy. If you listen to the post-match press conference, Rob was not happy about, you had a lead, and it was one mistake that created an opportunity for a Bakrar that made it 2-1, a pass by Bartosz Slisz that goes to Bakrar. Bakrar puts it in the back of the net, 2-1. And then I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It once again is yet another questionable penalty call. And I'm going to once again, and I know that we look at officials and calls and things like that and game state, and yes, I'm treating this once again as 2 separate streets of thought. And it is one of those elements where you have a bar that has been set, and you have Tallis Magno go down after Brooks Lennon basically gives him the equivalent of maybe just a, like a tap on the shoulder. I mean, you're grabbing the jersey and it's a little quick pull. Magno goes down. It is called a penalty. I don't know what the review process was because we didn't see a review process on Apple TV. Folks are trying to get Lucas Sapala's attention and try to discuss things. And Brooks Lennon apparently discussed things too heavily for Lucas Sapala's liking. And you end up with a penalty that makes it 2-2. The bar is set at that point, at least in my thought pattern. Okay, so if very little contact and the tugging of a shirt and slight tugging of a shirt is the bar, if that is the bar for a PK, then what Luke Brennan had should have been a PK. If logic was to take itself to its conclusion, if the center ref, Lucas Zapala, has the tug from Brooks Lennon and Tallis Magno going down as the bar, if that is your bar, then Luke Brennan should have been a penalty as well. But instead, Lucas Zapala, as Luke Brennan has as much contact, if not more, than what was created in the penalty situation for Tallis Magno. Lucas Zapala decides, and like I said, I'm taking this as two different streets. So I'm taking this, the game street is on one side and the officiating is on the other side. Then Jared Smith's going to join us here for a little bit. Jared, your timing is perfect.
That's never the case, but okay.
Yeah, no, it is. I was getting into the game state. I had already discussed the Tallis Magno penalty, and I'll put that in quotation marks. And if the tug by Brooks Lennon, and that's the word that I'll use, if that was
there's contact,
and if that was the bar that was set, if there was worse contact outside the box with Jay Fortune at the beginning of that play.
There were both dives.
And that's it. And so
he's looking for it, and he got it.
Yeah,
like we see it happen. It happens. It sucks, but it does happen.
Yeah.
I know the argument was, you just can't touch him. Like there's contact every time. Like I know it's the idea of like defender doesn't need to touch the guy, but it the best defenders in the world also. Yeah, they're going to put hands on guys because attackers are going to put their hands on defenders. They're going to arm bar defenders off the ball. Defenders are going to make contact back. Mm-hmm. Does Brooks grab him by the shirt a bit? Yeah. Then he falls in the other direction because he feels the contact. He's looking for it. He goes down, and he gets it, and it stinks from an Atlanta perspective. But you'd also kind of put yourself in that spot already by Shalicia's error, giving up the goal, which sucked because Bartak was really good aside from that.
Yep.
And I think a lot of that was also just mental fatigue. We had talked about before that this schedule is so compressed around the league. And we were talking about it after the game upstairs. That, like, it's so compressed around the league that you're getting more and more of these, not just with Atlanta, but around the league. You're getting like really lopsided results at times.
Yeah.
And like a lot of mental errors because guys are just tired. What sucked about the Sleece one is, for me, it didn't feel like you were in any immediate danger to give up anything before that. Like, yeah, New York City had the ball, but they weren't really, like, they were creating like a bunch of not even half chances.
Yeah.
Like they weren't really creating anything with it. It was kind of, the shoe was kind of on the other foot from where we're used to seeing Atlanta being. And what I mean by that is that so often, one of the complaints I heard all the time was that, and some of it was valid, is that there would be times where Atlanta had the ball down a goal. It's like, oh, they've got a ton of possession, but they're not doing anything with it. Kind of felt that, for me, that was kind of how New York felt in the second half. Yeah, Atlanta was a little wobbly at the end of the first half.
Right.
They made adjustments from like 45 to 60. Yeah, New York had the ball, but they weren't creating like dangerous, clear-cut chances. So you had them in a situation that you've been in before where, yeah, you can have much of the ball you want. We're just not going to let you in. and then we're occasionally going to pop out on some counters and be dangerous. And then you gave them that lifeline.
Mm-hmm. And then if that was the bar that was being set, with Zappala and the penalty call on Brooks and Talis Magno scores to make it at 2, then what happened to Luke Brennan by the logic in carrying it forward should have been a penalty as well. It was not called a penalty, and then Lucas Zappala decided.
But why? I mean, but there's not. I don't even think there was contact with Luke. Was there?
Yeah, there was. I thought there was slight contact with Luke.
And it wasn't not as blatant. And I thought going to yellow there.
Oh, that was and
was an unnecessary move because he was so quick with it.
Yes,
but like, yeah, there's contact with Brooks and Talis Magno. Absolutely. I'd have to go back and see the Luke Brennan one again to see if there's that same kind of contact. Right. That's where for me, that's where the difference lies. I couldn't tell if there was that definitive contact or not, and that matters in that situation. Is that it's he thought Luke was looking for it even more so, I guess. And Luke was a bit demonstrative with the way he went down, but I thought going yellow for the dive was wild right after you had just given a super soft penalty. But I didn't think there was any real contact there in the first place, and if not, then it's hard for me to say, well, that should have been a penalty too, because I have to go back and look at it.
Yeah, and so trying to find it is probably the field trip of the morning. But the element where Lucas Zappala decides to go absolutely rocket the yellow card out of his pocket there, for me, that was the one of the more frustrating elements of that whole thing, where, okay, so if the bar has been set with the contact from Talis Magno, Luke either, however much contact you want to say, but then going immediately to a yellow card.
If you want one that feels like the real missed opportunity for me, it's after, I think it's right before that. You have the long ball over the top that bounces through to Shande. Shande goes into the box on a 1v1 with the defender.
Yeah.
Loses the ball at the feet of Matt Freese.
Right.
There's contact in Shande. Like, Shande's held up. Shande fought through it.
Yeah.
Shande should have just fallen down.
Exactly.
Because you had set that standard.
Yep.
That one, and it's this thing that we do, and I think people go back and forth on it, and I won't speak for everybody on how they feel about it. It's this thing we do, though, where we go back and forth of, should he have gone down? Should you fight through that contact, or should you go down easily and earn that penalty? Because by fighting through it, you are depriving yourself of the opportunity for that penalty, but possibly getting a shot away on goal. And he did neither of those things there. Should he have gone down? Well, I think that's a matter of personal opinion. That one was the one where it's like, oh, well, there was more contact on that one than the one on the Talis one. But just like the Talis Magno one, it's or not just like, excuse me, but just like usual attacks.
Yeah.
Just like usual attacks, the attacker and defender are both being handsy because they will be physical with each other. Yep. So the idea that, like, you can't touch a guy, like, they're gonna be physical back and forth. We see it plenty where defenders are gonna get a little shirt tug in.
Yeah.
They're not gonna pull the guy back like Chiellini in the Euros 4 years ago. 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But when you give a little tug and then the guy goes falling down the other direction, come on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that one.
I love the tug and then going against the gravity of the tug.
Shande should have gone down there.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's the bottom line is, I didn't think you were really under too much threat once you had stabilized everything after halftime. Like, New York City had more of the ball. Whatever, you're kind of packed in. It's fine. And the mistake from Bartek gave them the lifeline. The problem is the way you are constructed, missing designated players, missing attacking talent, having inconsistent attacking talent. Like, Shande Silva wasn't bad last night. It was a good game for Shande, who has not had a lot of good games recently.
Right.
Or this year in general. You don't have the attacking talent to overcome defensive mistakes. And you made a glaring defensive mistake. You don't have the offensive firepower to outscore your mistakes. So you can't make them, which is coincidentally something that New York City has done really well this year. Getting 2 goals against them was impressive because they've been solid defensively.
Yeah.
Like they just lock things down.
Yeah.
So you have to be better about that in those moments.
And take advantage of a lineup and an 18, frankly, that did not have either Santi Rodriguez or Thiago Martins. And you had inexperience at the back, and you took advantage of that. And you noticed that you had a very, very young left back that you were taking advantage of it. At some points, I think that your level of attack down the far right-hand side was in the 60% of the 4 channels that you could possibly go in attack. You had more than 2/3 of your attack down your attacking right-hand side with Brooks Lennon, etc., Brooks and Saba and such. And you're going up against an inexperienced left back. And so you saw that and you took advantage of that in the first 45 minutes. So it was, you had the benefits of the benefits of youth and a rotated side in the first 45, and by the end of it, you had not taken advantage of it.
Yeah, it was the opportunity to take points. Just didn't happen. It didn't. You didn't get the job done, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But because you had a rotated side you were facing, and yeah, you're not 100% either. You had a rotated side you were facing, and you scored 21 seconds into the game.
Yep.
That's how you win games.
Yep.
Should be.
Yep.
Then you got a goal late in the first half, where Shande tried to kill Freeze from 5 feet away.
Hey, go for it, man.
Well, Garrett and I were talking about it. Abe I mentioned. I think Abe mentioned he should know better. I'm like, I don't know how. He got blasted from 5 yards, from like 5 feet away, and didn't catch it. Like, it's like an outtake from a dodgeball movie.
Yeah.
Like he kept it out of the goal in the first one, and no one was there to clean it up. We'd say the same thing if that happens to Brad. Like, a rocket from that close range. You keep it out of the goal, and it's hard. It's hard at that range to turn the ball out. And then you're hoping your defense can clean it up, and Saba was faster getting there.
Yeah.
Shande almost scores at the end of the first half. Like fingertipped off the post.
Yep.
Like, you had opportunities in the second half. The one that sticks out to me is Shande bombing down the left with Rios in the middle, and he doesn't play that, and maybe he can't. He doesn't play that early ball into the middle of the field where Rios has one defender on him who is in front of him and who cannot, and that defender is not able to stick to him. Where you could have put the ball on a plate for Rios to either head it in or take a touch and put it in, or put it on a frame, and you didn't. And Shande runs it all the way to the end line, crosses it right to Freeze's hands. You had opportunities, you didn't put them away. And yeah, when you're facing a rotated side and you score 21 seconds into the game, you do have to win that game, and you didn't. I don't know, man.
Basically, yeah, I think you've got that right. Here's your goals. First goal, once again, 21 seconds in, 20 seconds in, and it's courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, Mike and Jason on the call.
Lennon fostered to the touchline by Christian McFarland. He has it at the hash mark now and drops it back, still in the attacking third to Schleich. Center to Moyamba, flick to Saba, to the penalty spot, Rio, shot, score! 20 seconds into the match! One of the fastest goals in Atlanta United team history. What a start!
And to Abby's point, I think that at its normal pacing, Matt Freese would have had a better chance to save it, but because it went through a defender and kind of clattered around the defender,
took a deflection, I think.
Yeah, and so that slowed the pace of the ball down, and Freese was trying to figure out, okay, if I dive, do I delay my dive, do whatever? I think that the deflection and all of that activity kind of caught Matt Freese in between ideas, and he couldn't quite get to it, and he got to it too late, goes in the back of the net at 1-0. And here's the other goal. Saba with a goal and an assist on the day, and it's like everybody decided that they wanted to break out all their back heels, and we saw that especially in the first 45 minutes. Goal number 2 gave him a 2-0 lead, once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app. Get out your watches.
Now the ball knocked down to Schleich. Schleich dribbling into the central channel. Cuts it ahead. Shante Silva, edge of the 18. Dribbles to the end line. Cross caught at the near post. And then put back into the goal by Saba Lomanice. Matt Freese spilled it and was sabotaged. And it's 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you get launched at a high rate of speed from 5 feet away, it's going to hit you in the chest and go through your hands. And Saba, using the outside of the right, put it in the back of the net, made it 2-0.
Yeah, I mean it's a close range rocket. Like it hits you center mass, but it's hard to catch those, man. Even with sticky gloves, it's a hard catch to make. He spills it. His defense isn't there to clean him up. Saba is. I said you should have killed it off at 3-0. You should have been fine at 2-0. You should have, and you weren't because of a mistake and then a questionable penalty.
Yeah,
those happen. Yeah, man, it's a point. It should have been 3 points. And then you almost score twice at the end. You have the amazing save from Freese, which we got to send a strongly worded. And because Rich is here, I can say we need a strongly worded letter to Philadelphia for letting Freese walk.
Yeah,
because he's been outstanding for New York City this year.
Mm-hmm.
The save he makes on Jamal late is amazing to keep it off the line.
Yep.
Well, he makes the save about probably 4 inches past the line. Ball doesn't go over the line all the way. Yep. It's an outstanding save. And then you get the chance late where Shante gets played into the middle of the box, and then Freese reads it really well and gets down and makes. I think the save looked more comfortable than it probably was. Like his positioning. It was one of those things for me personally that I think that save looked easier than it was because he did the work ahead of time where he's like shuffling across the box under control, reads how Shante's foot is on it and how the ball's going to spin coming off his foot, and he's in position perfectly. It was just a really good job.
8 teams are now separated by 5.
Freese wanted to leave. Well, but you'll still have Andre Blake when he's healthy. Yeah. He's still very, 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 very good.
Yeah, and Semle and the Academy product are your 2 and your 3. I mean, Matt Freese wanted to be in a place where he thought he could start.
He's proving that point right now, and good on him. He's been really good, man. And yeah, Abby's right. The amount of clean passes were really impressive, and not even just that opening sequence, like the first half, and even in some in the second half, the amount of like little interplay you were pulling off was really impressive at times. Like it seemed like there were stretches where they were having fun in the build-up play. Yeah, it was more like you were ceding possession and finding opportunities on the counter. You were like finding transition moments instead of having to create them, which is fine because that's kind of what the game state called for. But yeah, that was, to Will's point, not having a true 10 to be that creator. Yeah, that's where you're at, man. I agree. It's frustrating because you don't have someone who's picking out those balls. Like you're getting really good, you're getting really good balls from last night. You got really good balls from the deep lying players or from your fullbacks or from your winger switching play. But yeah, you don't have anybody playing that killer pass right now. It's just the way you're structured, just where you are. You're kind of hanging on and embracing the suck of it all, which isn't fun.
No.
You'll see what you add in the window, and then you'll see how you finish it out. But no, it's No one's going to mistake it for fun, I don't think.
No. The way things are right now in the East, and we'll talk about it obviously more with Niko when he comes in for the last half hour of the show. Nino Torres coming in about 5 minutes to talk Copa and anything else on his mind. Right now in the Eastern Conference, 8 to the bottom is 8 teams. They're separated by 5 points.
Yeah, it is a gaggle of suck down there at the bottom. It's funny, New York City's I think it's like 37 points. So they're like in that they're out of that stack of bodies.
Yeah,
which is where you want to be.
They're in the B group. They're in the first chase group right now. Red Bulls are at 38. NYC's at 37.
Charlotte's at 36. And Charlotte rescued a draw late last night at Columbus.
Yeah.
So and Columbus is, and again, this is just like these last like 4 weeks have been brutal on the entire league. And then you have Leagues Cup coming up, man. Like, I know they were gut punched to lose they had a lead at home late, and Charlotte snatched a point from them in like the 83rd minute. I think everybody around the league is feeling it right now because you're getting more of these like mental mistakes. The guys are just tired.
Yeah.
And I think it is a league wide thing. I think that's where we are seeing it league wide. But yeah, it's you have to fight through it because I promise you, Columbus is going to fight through it. They're going to come in here. They're going to fight through it. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to play a little bit more defensively like you have been, and try and because I mean that was the best first half you'd had since RSL, and RSL was a great first half, even though you gave up an early goal in like the first minute. It was a great first half, and second half, you were kind of flat, but you were in a situation where you could be more defensive, so you could kind of dictate and move them where you wanted them to go, not necessarily where they wanted to go.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's not perfect, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know that you'll score in the 21st second against Columbus. So what are you going to do about it? Because they will try and break you down, and they will be coming with a more complete complement of players that you're going to have to deal with. So it stinks because that was a great opportunity for 3 points. They were right there for you, and you gave them the lifeline back into the game. Yep. Lucas Spalla gives a penalty there. I don't like it, just because it's unbelievably soft. But it's also one of those things. I think that when you're having a bad year, those are the things that are going to happen to you.
Yeah.
Like you're going to get that soft penalty against you after you made a mistake. Sometimes sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you, but you have to find a way not to give those points away, and you didn't. For me, that was where it was.
No doubt.
Yeah. Dax was good. Yeah, Dax in the midfield. I still don't know if Dax can go Saturday.
I think that, and we probably are look at your lineup from last night, and to a certain degree, flip your minutes.
Yeah, like Jay, and I don't know. Depends on what Columbus gives you, but yeah. No, I just wanted to come and yell at that. I'm actually leaving now.
Okay, so Jarrett's leaving now, and so he's going to do his Irish goodbye. But yeah, right now we'll get into the standings and what happened last night with Niko, and we'll play some cliffhanger and all of that stuff coming up in the last half hour of the show. But Columbus still has 2 matches in hand in the East. And with what happened last night, if they win their matches in hand, then they would be in second. Cincinnati would be in third. But you have a couple of distinct groups. You've got the top 3 in the East. You've got that second group. Then you've kind of got Orlando and Charlotte figuring out, okay, what group am I in? Charlotte's in that second group. Orlando is kind of in that second group, but they're more closer to Charlotte than anything else. And then you've got the third group of the 8 teams chasing after the 8-9 in the East. In the West, it is the chaos that is the chaos. It is that first group, that breakaway group of LA, LAFC, and RSL. Then you have the second group of Vancouver, Colorado, Seattle, Portland, and Houston. We'll go ahead and lump them into that. So that's 4 through 8. And then you've got 9, 10, 11. right now, Minnesota, Austin, Dallas. They're all separated by a point. Minnesota has and Austin have identical records through 24, but Minnesota is ahead on goal difference. Dallas is a point behind. Kansas City and St. Louis are adrift, 6 points away from Dallas, 7 points away is Kansas City. Add another point for all caps. And then San Jose, 4-18-2, and they've given up 59 goals in 24 matches. So if my math is correct, that's about 2.5 goals a match. So 24, close. Just under 2.5 goals a match, 2.4. And they've scored 31 in 24 matches. So 1.28 to 2.4 is your average score going up against San Jose this season. And so the West has 3 groups. The East has 3 groups. We'll get into that with Niko Moreno in the final half hour of the show. Nick is drifting in. Nino Torres from Gold TV discussing Copa and anything else on his mind coming up in short order. Nick, what's on your mind this morning?
Just generally kind of stunned about last night still, but not exactly thrilled by that.
Right. So how was the birthday for Jackie Fresh, by the way?
It was good. Yeah, 15th birthday, which means that he's now got his learner's permit, which means that, it's a good thing that I am already bald, so I don't have any more hair to lose. So that's a good thing. But took him and one of his friends to the game last night. They roamed around the stadium, had a good time. So, and shout out to the concession stand over in like the 230 section.
Right.
They took excellent care of me last night, so I want to put that out there into the public world. That fantastic service.
Yes.
At that particular concession stand.
Yes. Yes. So Abby's like, so we all need to stay off the roads?
Yes. Yeah. It's officially Mad Max now. So, you just do what you will with that information. But the main concern I have is that for the first half, it showed me one thing that was unbelievably frustrating.
Yes.
And that was that you can see how the team is assembled, right? And you could see that, NYCFC is not a terrible team.
Right.
Atlanta ran them in the first half.
Yeah.
Ran them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go in for halftime. They come out. And I don't know if NYCFC did their Popeye cans of spinach routine. I don't know if they had some fantastic tactical reshift or something. And all I know is it keeps happening.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know.
And we saw the behind the scenes video with Gonzalo Pineda where he said he went after the mentality of the team.
Right.
And then we heard last night in post game, Rob Valentino go after the mentality of the team. And so here's the thing is that this is not a heel turn. It's going to sound like a heel turn, but it's not a heel turn.
Okay.
We're in the season ticket renewal world right now.
No doubt.
Okay. And I've got Garth putting a video up saying, and I'm saying this as a season ticket holder. So I've got some room to speak here.
Okay.
And I'll be very quick about this because I know we got Nino coming in.
Yeah.
You can't say we got bumps and bruises, but we're going to sort it out. I'm sorry. I'm a stakeholder here. And if I went to a restaurant that was supposed to be branding itself as a high-end restaurant, it's order a 3-course meal. First course comes out and it's all right. It's pretty good. Second course comes out and it starts to flail a bit. And then the third one is just a nightmare. Why am I going to keep spending my money at that restaurant? Mm-hmm. Eventually I'm going to be like, I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah. I'm
doing something else with my money. I'm having a hard time justifying to my family why we need to keep spending money on these season tickets.
Right.
I can't justify spending money on a team that doesn't want to show up in the second half. Pineda said it. Valentino said it. I don't think necessarily up for debate anymore, but with that, I'll sit back and let Nino come in and maybe restore some civility to the conversation.
Nino, we don't believe in civility in conversations, do we, Nino?
Oh, is he muted?
Right here, I'm done. I'm on. Yeah, okay.
There we
no,
go.
we're done. No, who cares about civility, man?
I'm just trying to
doing,
figure out how to
guys?
spend my money, Nino, man. I'm just trying to figure out how to spend my money.
No, man, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I would do too.
Yeah, we got hot folks here, Nino, because of what's going on currently with Atlanta United being in group number 3 in the Eastern Conference, 8 teams separated by a handful of points, all chasing after that great run-in game at the 8-9 right now when it comes to the playoffs. So folks here in Atlanta are kind of hot under the collar with Columbus coming to town on Saturday.
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh
Uh-huh.
boy! That's my team. I want to show you something. I have, you can see it, right? Let me see it right here. Can you see that?
Wow!
This is Columbus, Ohio, baby.
Wow!
Oh my God!
This is Columbus, Ohio. It's a 315, 71, 70.
Wow!
Columbus State is right here. So you get an idea. You get an idea.
Man,
I think John's computer is deciding it's going to have all kinds of fun right now.
I know. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Sometimes it happens to me too. The stringer is great, but sometimes you know the connection. It's just.
I know. But that tattoo, man, that's the first perimeter Columbus tattoo I think that we've ever seen.
Ever.
It's crazy because when I was out about to leave Columbus, and was it December 2016? I was returning to Peru. I was like, I gotta make a tattoo. I got more tattoos, right? But this one is the one that I want to take it with me. And everybody has the Ohio, you know, the OH, all that. I was looking for something different. So okay, so I see the all the highways, and okay, surrounding Columbus, and all right, this is what I'm doing. Boom.
Yeah.
There's the Ohio Stadium and the Columbus Stadium. Also highlighted in that tattoo, man.
He's got the horseshoe and historic Crew Stadium on the gun.
Yeah.
Wow, that's tremendous. That was not the reason that Nick and I have you in this morning to talk about Columbus Crew and drive folks crazy about a matchup in MLS on Saturday. I guess let's work backward with what's going on with Copa America.
Yes, sir.
And we got folks pointing fingers.
My God.
So we got Hard Rock pointing fingers. Well, basically Hard Rock and everybody pointing fingers at CONMEBOL. CONMEBOL's like, nuh-uh. And that's what this sounds like. This literally sounds like an 8-year-old going, nuh-uh. And then everybody going, yeah-huh.
Right.
And I mean, this is, I guess, welcome to CONMEBOL. Is that the easiest way to say this?
It's crazy, man. But the thing is, I don't know how in the world CONMEBOL has all the authority or the saying or on taking these decisions towards the fans, right? Okay, there's 10,000 people that they don't have tickets. You know what? Let's open the gates. And you know, there's just too many people outside. Come on, all in. It's on me, right? It's not on you. Because I paid my ticket, and 10,000 people didn't pay the ticket, and there was a lot of people outside the stadiums who paid $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for the tickets, and they couldn't get in. So now this is the part of CONMEBOL right now. The other part is the Hard Rock Stadium. Who runs the security in there?
Hard Rock. I mean,
right?
Under normal circumstances, it's Hard Rock. But from what we understand with multiple venues involving this tournament, CONMEBOL were the ones that were dictating security and amount, and they didn't want to consult with the stadium about, well, hey, maybe we need more. Apparently, in more than one instance, CONMEBOL is just like, we don't want to talk about this. And so it was like bare bones. And that's what you ended up with, where Hard Rock has hosted events for almost 40 years. They've done Super Bowls.
We will have the last word on this. That's what you're saying.
Well, and that's the thing. I think who's going to have the last word, I think, are going to be the folks that get billable hours, because with all of this destruction that happened inside Hard Rock, you know that Stephen Ross is calling up the owner of Hard Rock and the Dolphins, and he's going, Mr. Conmebol, hello?
Hello? Yeah.
It's like, y'all, stuff happened in here, and who's going to pay for this mess? And Conmebol's going to be like, not us. We're not responsible for this, but yeah, you are, because you were the ones that set up the security.
Yeah, it's like, this is my house. I rent your house. If you destroy my house, you pay for it. Because I rent it to you. It doesn't mean that it's your house. This is my building. This is my house. I'm renting. You pay for it? Yes, that's fine. But you pay for it, sit there one more time. And if something happens during that time that you were in, that you were my tenant, you pay for it.
Yeah, and one of our Twitch pitchers, Abby, says that she will tell you that CONMEBOL is the problem. She has evidence from being behind the scenes in Atlanta. She has her stuff that folks are telling her from behind the scenes. CONMEBOL is the problem. Abby says she knows Hard Rock came out with a statement not to throw CONMEBOL under the bus, but hey, speaking with staff in Atlanta, CONMEBOL is the problem. So this is like a venue by venue thing. You had this renter with multiple houses in multiple cities sitting there going, give me the shiniest house in town. I want to rent it from you. And then, if folks come in and steal your big TV, that's your problem. Well, no, it's not. It's your problem. Well, no, it's not. It's not my problem, even though I rented the house. That's where we are with this, man.
It's insane. Now, you know what? I want to tell you this story here. Okay. 2019. I think that was the first year that we were playing the Copa Libertadores finals at one game, because before it was a two-leg series, and it was the first time that it happened. It happened here in Peru. It was Flamengo versus River Plate, and we got our stadium, because it's my team, Universitario de Deportes. It can hold 80,000 people. Okay, and everything went great. Everything went just great. And we got 20,000 Brazilians coming in, another 20,000 Argentinians coming in, plus our whatever thousand people bought the tickets here in Lima. And it was the whole operation. It was well planned. I don't know, Mr. I forgot his name is Dominguez, right? Alejandro Dominguez. I don't know if he wasn't aware of it, or if it was poor management, poor execution. The logistics were crap. CONMEBOL. Period. That's the bottom line. Right. Because if we could have hosted here a couple of Libertadores final, why in the world in Miami, I know the Hard Rock Stadium, you cannot get it done? And the thing that drives me crazy is this. Who got it's got to be someone that we eventually want to find out. Who gave the order? All right, let's open the gates. And I don't care if there's 10,000 people that have tickets and another 10,000 that have tickets that they're not getting in. Who gave you that? There's somebody who gave that order, and we need to find out who that was, because I'm not saying that CONMEBOL, I'm taking responsibility out of CONMEBOL, but who was in charge of that aspect of the game, man? That's crazy. I was looking at the people getting through the vents, man. You see that?
Yeah,
through the vents.
like Die Hard and John McClane, brother. Yeah.
I mean, for 1 second, it's how long has it been? Since 1985, or we in Buenos Aires or something, or in Lima. That happened back in the days, because in South America, we're nuts. We were insane. Okay, we were just completely. We don't care about the organizations, and we don't care. It's just that sad part, right? But everything is so chaotic, all right. And when it comes to football, it's the chaos level rises up to the roof, and I don't know. It's just crazy, man.
Nick, go for it.
I two things. One is that a lot of these stadiums will hire private security. So I want to know who was in charge of hiring the private security company. So like whenever you see, whenever you're watching the game and you see these people, they're looking away from the crowd and they have like maybe like a 3 or 4 digit number on the back of their vest. They're not stadium employees. That's private security. I would like to know who vetted the private security companies to operate the gates, to operate, to go through and verify, some of the ticket challenges and things of that sort. The second part is, in America, we are not used to the by any means necessary crowd. We are used to a very largely outside of like a few places like Philadelphia can get rowdy. A couple of other places could get rowdy, but we're not used to the I'm going to get into this stadium by any means necessary crowd. And so, when you have someone who's being paid hourly to try to handle a crowd that's a by any means necessary crowd, your decision making is going to go out the window quickly. And especially if the higher ups are not being very clear with, okay, just let people in, stop everyone from coming in, set a new perimeter, whatever. I could just see that there's some sort of misunderstanding of like, well, there are people who claim they have tickets. Well, let them in. Okay, cool. And then the gates open because there's not checks and balances. There's not a clear line of communication. There's not a clear what if planning meetings taking place. And there will be billable hours from a lot of people. A company or two, probably on the security side, will end up going bankrupt trying to fight this. And everybody's going to be sitting there pointing fingers at each other. But the bottom line on this is that CONMEBOL, and if they elect to do this in the United States again, they're going to have a different set of agreements on who controls what aspect of the tournament. Who controls ticketing, who controls security. These need to be handled by a different entity than CONMEBOL. CONMEBOL, you get the teams in place. You make sure that the logistics are in place so the tournament runs from a playing perspective. That is your arena. Everything else that involves day-to-day operations, logistics, that's us. Yeah. And if you don't want to do it, then don't get this sweet, United States currency coming your way. So it's up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found out. Okay, here's what Hard Rock said. I found, and I know that we actually need to talk about what happened on the field, but so Hard Rock said this. Hard Rock said, when it became apparent that it would not be safe to start the match at 8 p.m., a joint decision was made to postpone. Shortly after 8 o'clock, stadium officials, CONMEBOL, CONCACAF, and law enforcement officers communicated and decided to open the gates for a short period of time to all fans to prevent stampedes and serious injury at the perimeter. The gates were then closed once the threat of fans being crushed was alleviated. At that time, the venue was at capacity and gates were not reopened. Shortly after the match, alcohol sales were stopped and event organizers instituted a detailed plan and increased security presence to allow for a peaceful egress upon conclusion of the match. So basically, it sounds like when they found out that we were not starting at 8 o'clock and Shakira was going to have to be put on hold for an hour and 20 minutes, that everybody was like, yeah, so we don't have another Hillsborough. Let's go ahead and open the gates and make sure that we don't have a situation worse than it was. So sounds like it was choice D, all the above, when 8 o'clock hit. Still, yeah.
Well, okay, so we've covered the security side, and I think from the media perspective, we beat that horse dead into the ground.
Yes.
Okay, so the question I have is from a pure footballing perspective. Colombia had an unprecedented win streak come to an end. Mm-hmm. Was this their one shot? Was this like, hey, Colombia had the right players, the right place, but the wrong time because Argentina was still unbelievably tough? Or is this something where Colombia is set up to win for a long time, and once Messi and friends decides to step away, CONMEBOL's theirs to run?
You're saying Colombia?
Yeah, Colombia.
Yeah. Is it their is it their time now?
Because sometimes you have a good team.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a good team that is set up to win just for right now.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you have a team that is set up to win for years to come. But if Colombia is only set up to win now, they hit the immovable object in Argentina, and that's it. It's over. It was a good run. Tough timing, doesn't work out. Which is Colombia? Are they set up to win for a long time, or was this their one shot to get it done?
This is just the beginning for Colombia. This is just the beginning. It's the beginning of a new era, and now understand that Argentina's unbeatable and almighty run with an unprecedented back-to-back Copa Americas after in the middle winning a world champion. Nobody's done that in CONMEBOL in the history of CONMEBOL. This is the first time there is back-to-back Copa Americas with a World Cup winner in the middle. It's the first time that it's happened. Okay, now the Messi era is coming to an end. It's inevitable. I want to say I don't know if he's going to play the 2026 World Cup, but the arrival of Colombia, I'm not going to say that they're going to take cover because never happened before. I mean, well, with Chile would happen. They got a fantastic run with back-to-back Copa Americas in 2015 and 2016. But it's not that it wasn't that they won the show. All right, they won the Copa Americas, but still the respect, it wasn't there. All right, we would never look them up. Oh, they are up there. We're not gonna catch them. No. This is not how it works in CONMEBOL. If somebody else win other than Argentina or Brazil, we're like, all right, that's your shot. It's my turn next. So everybody's fighting for that third spot in CONMEBOL. I don't think that Colombia is going to run CONMEBOL, and we're talking about, of course, the teams, right? We're not talking about the organization.
Yeah.
They're not going to run the show in South America. They're going to be an exciting thing to watch. They're going to be undoubtedly probably the top 3, top 2 coming into the World Cup. But in South America, it's so tough. Everything is so even. You know, we have right now we are at the bottom of the table. Peru, Paraguay, and Bolivia. We're in the back seat. We're in the back seat. But there's 7 teams. But there's the 7 other teams is toe to toe, man. The level is just right up there, and it's an incredible fight. And the level of performances from each team is incredible right now. It's just incredible, and I don't think that you cannot see anyone in CONMEBOL above the shoulder. The very moment you do that, you got beat. The whoever is playing against you look them over their shoulder. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do to you, and boom. And then is when the upsets are coming. But at this very moment, I would say that this Argentina team, they are untouchable. They are the untouchable.
This has to be because see, it's one thing when everybody was talking about Spain, right, and that run that Spain went on for a while, and they said, "Oh, it's the greatest national team run of all time." I'm sorry, this Argentine run is because if let's go ahead. You're talking about the top tier of CONMEBOL, right?
Right.
Brazil, Argentina, and then whoever slots in at third. If you look over your shoulder and, like you said, and you go to La Paz, and there's always an equalizer. I feel like even if it's not on the field, it's off the field. Like you got to play at altitude at La Paz. Have fun dealing with that. You know, like it's to me that's what makes CONMEBOL so damn hard is that even if you have a phenomenal team, everything else has to go right for you. I feel like there's not any sort of off the field advantage to going and playing in the Netherlands, right? There's no off the field advantage to going and playing in Paris, unless the players go out to party. The same thing in Madrid or Barcelona. Going someplace like Chile or Peru, where you're going to have to play at insane altitude, that's an equalizer, man.
It's crazy, and that's why it's so tough here in CONMEBOL. And when everybody in Europe says, "Oh, CONMEBOL this, CONMEBOL that," you can say whatever you want, but we are the toughest conference in the world. Period. You don't get to play Messi, you don't get to play Rodrigo 2 times, not in a row, man. 2 times on your qualifiers. You go play Cyprus, man. Okay, you go play San Marino. And then you put 17 goals, and you got the goal differential to go, I don't know, play Germany, and and that's it. That doesn't happen here. Even though when with Bolivia and we haven't seen a 5-0, 4-0 in a while.
This ain't Andorra and San Marino, brother.
And that's why. And with all due respect to CONCACAF, you go play Belize, you play Cuba, Puerto Rico. Come on.
Yes.
We need CONMEBOL to adopt the SEC slogan of "It just means more."
Yeah.
Just take that. CONMEBOL, it just means more, and just run with it. Just take it and run with it.
I would propose that.
What do you think about where things are? Colombia is that car that's coming in the passing lane. Things in the mirror are closer than they appear. What about Uruguay and what we saw under El Loco? Where are they right now, in your thought? Because you had them winning the whole thing.
Yeah. I did.
Where are they right now, you think?
I think they're gonna be number 3 or number 2 in the World Cup qualifiers. Still, they're gonna regroup, and they're gonna find out a way. And El Loco is gonna have he's having already a chip on his shoulder for this Copa America, and he's gonna make everyone else pay. What I'm gonna see now, what we are about to see from Uruguay in the World Cup qualifiers, is going to be a wild animal trying to eat alive every single team that they're going to face, man. That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, they're going to come up even stronger, because that's the mentality of the Uruguayans, of the Argentinians. They are so tough mentally, man. They are so tough, and that's why many of us, I'm including myself here in this take, is that we envy these guys. Oh, who do you think they are? Well, we're 4-time world champions. We're 3-time world champions. We're 15 world champions, Copa American champions, and now 16 times world champions. That's who we are, and that's why we are so damn cocky. Try to take it away from me. All right, that's the mentality that I would love to see from many Peruvian players, but it's not happening. That's why maybe that's why I'm going to go into the business side, that the value, right? The value of the players is so high on that side of the continent. And there was I don't know if you remember this Peruvian guy, Norberto Solano, who played for Newcastle United back in the 90s, 97. He played with Maradona. Mm-hmm. He came up the other day saying that how in the world is that no other Peruvian player has beat my price. They paid 1.5 million for Solano in 97, and we haven't sold a Peruvian player for over that price tag since 1997. So how is that possible? Well, I'll just give you the answer, man. This right here, mentality. This is a winner's mentality that for some strange reason, it's not like, we don't have it, but why we don't work on it? That's what now you got a team of psychologists, you got the head coach staff. It's like we got 17 people in there, And you got the GPS, you got your nutritionist, you got the video analyst, you got the scouts, you got everything else, and and you also have a mental coach. This is the life coaches, mental coaches that every team has to work on the psychological aspect, and that's what Gareca did when he arrived to Peru. Everybody says, "Oh, he changed our chip, right? Now we got a winner chip," and that's they believe in, and that's why we qualified for the World Cup in 2018. But since he's gone, two coaches, it's not there. I see that we went backwards in terms of the attitude of players. Now we went back again now to all the drama. We got right now the soap opera with Paulo Guerrero. I don't want to play, and he refused to enter the pitch. And there's this guy sparring. He's screwing the other guy's wives, and it's just we got a mess again. It's like we went backwards 20 years, man, in terms of mentality. Man.
Wow. We got Niko Moreno joining us around the corner to talk about MLS. And I'm going to filibuster a little bit with you because I know that you've got a question for Niko about Raul Diaz. So we'll turn it into a fatal four-way when Niko initially does show up. Nick, what else is on your mind with our buddy Nino hanging out with us from Lima, Peru after his morning workout?
And look, all I want to know is who's next in for Copa? Who are you predicting is going to be the next champion? And then two, who do you think is the next dark horse? Because I don't think it's Uruguay, because I think El Loco, as we have seen, Bielsa's ability to keep that same energy for a team, it fades over time, right? Because of the intensity. You can only handle that intensity for so long. Yeah. I think Uruguay may take a step back, but who do you think is going to win the next Copa? And then who do you think is set up to be the dark horse? I know we're projecting way far out, but
I know.
This is the fun of what we do.
Nick's testing your brain power, man.
It's hard. It's hard. But if everything, this is the thing with Argentina, right? It might sound crazy, but I think the dominance, will extend one more time unless the Brazilian young boys evolve and progress. And I think I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you the finals. I'm not going to tell you who. It's going to be Argentina versus Brazil, the finals.
Okay.
And I think Brazil is going to take it.
Wow.
That's what's going to happen. Okay. Because for now, when you asked me at the beginning of the Copa, John, about Brazil, and I think they were not ready, but they will be ready for the next Copa.
Okay.
They will be ready for next Copa because now in the next Copa, Hendrik is going to be, 22. The Rodrigos and Vinis of the world are going to be 25, 26. They're going to reach the maturity of a soccer player. So that's what's going to happen next. It's going to be Brazil, the next Copa America champion, beating Argentina in penalties. There you go.
I love it.
And the dark horse. I think it's going to be Colombia number 3 too, again. But that's a conversation. It's going to be among the three. The Brazil winning, Argentina, handing the crown to Brazil to finally get into double digits in terms of Copa America. So they stuck at 9, so they're going to get the 10th Copa America. And Colombia will fail again short because the Toto Lorenzo said this, right? That Argentina failed so many times, they lost so many finals. This is the first final that we lost. So it's a learning process. The soccer is brutal. And you might see someone else lifting the trophy 2, 3, 4 times before you get to get your own trophy.
who from a player perspective really had their stock shoot up to where they are going to be recognized and it's like, ooh, we need to grab that guy for our club? Is it as easy as saying Hamas and Sao Paulo sitting there going, cut us a check, we're ready to get rid of him? Is it a guy like Borja at River who was really doing well and wanted to mix it up with anybody who tapped him on the shoulder on the field? I mean, who from a player perspective really had their stock boost as we're now in the transfer window here in the U.S., just as a marking point? Who really shined for you that really is going to get themselves a good paycheck?
I think Richard Mendes, the right mid for Colombia, he was fantastic, man. He was one of him and Lerma. Those are the two players that impressed me the most throughout the Copa. Hopefully they get a big paycheck because that guy can play, man. Richard Mendes can play. He was just amazing on the right mid position for Colombia. And Lerma, the guy who provide the balance and ride the show and bring the X factor in terms of coming into the end zone, joining the party on offense for Colombia. Those are the two names that for me elevated for above everybody else.
Okay. It is that time. It is time for the fatal four-way. And it is where we bring in our buddy Niko Moreno, who is this conversation is going to have two folks in it based in Atlanta. We're going to have Nino Torres, who is hanging out with us from the Palace in Lima, Peru. And we're going to go to Seattle, Washington, where we bring in our buddy Niko Moreno, who's hanging out with us for another Thursday, as it's always Thursdays with Niko. So it is Niko, it is Nino. This is where hour number 2 is gone now. Hour 2 on Thursdays is now the Nino and Niko show. And Nick, Nick and I are hanging out. And Niko, we had Nino on to talk about what's going on with Copa. And he has a question for you about one of his beloved club and a player that you know intimately, since we are now in the beginning of the transfer window. So you can either put his hopes on a pedestal so high that Nino will not come down for months, or you can crash his thoughts and have him just crying in a corner with this question coming up. So Nino, hit Niko with what's on your mind.
Hey Niko, how you doing, man? Thank you for being here, and thank you for answering this question that I got 24 million people behind me backing me up on this question, right? So is La Pulga coming or not coming? Mr. Raul Ruiz, we're being I don't even finish the question, man. Let me just finish the question, please. He didn't let me finish. Like, he shut me down, man. He shut me down. Oh my God. I got just, my expectations, my hopes were like this, and now they're below 6 feet under. He threw me with my expectations on Raul Rodriguez. I know that the president of Universidad Deportes went to the States. He was in the Copa America finals, and he returned, and he said that it's really, really complicated. First off, because he's under contract. First off, right? His contract ends at the end of the year, and but here everybody say, "Oh, we can sponsor who we can pay his salary. We can bring him. Just bring him for for 2 months or something." But yeah, he's not coming, right?
No, and look, this has been interesting because the reporting out of Peru, unfortunately, has had a whole lot of discrepancies, and it's had a lot of inconsistencies, and I've kind of been on the other end clarifying a lot of it. First of all, there were reports that John Ferreira was already here, was already talking to people and things of that nature. I had a source with the player tell me that the player was upset and didn't like the fact that they were reporting that he was trying to force his way out of Seattle, and that it was absolutely not true, and that he was not having negotiations with absolutely anybody. That was last week. Then after that, I talked to the team. There was absolutely no conversations with anybody. And just last night, I spoke to the general manager, and he gave me all the green light to say his name and quote Craig Weibel, saying, because there was a lot of reports out of Peru that were saying that Universitario was waiting for a response from Seattle to do a meeting to talk about Raul Ruiz, and it was a lie. Last night, Craig Weibel told me straight up, we've had no offers and no official contact with anybody from Club Universitario until right now. And that just tells me that there was so much fabricated or at least speculated information that is just not a reality. So that's number one. Number two, Seattle's not willing to loan the player. They need him. They want him. This team has Leagues Cup, has Open Cup semifinals, has MLS. Having a player of his caliber coming in as a super sub or playing as a starter in various competitions is important for Seattle. Number three, Seattle doesn't have a budget right now to go and replace Raul Ruiz with another DP, with another designated player. So why would they let go of Raul right now when the expectation is that the DPs and the big signings are going to come in at the beginning of 2025 as they prepare for Club World Cup? So there's just so many things stacked against this theory that Raul would leave, that unless something drastically changes and there's a 2% chance that he leaves, that it happens. So between the situation of Seattle and what we've known of the inconsistencies with the reporting in Peru, I'd say that there's a 98% chance that he's not leaving Seattle.
You know, I love that percentage because we got a little less of a percentage here from a guy who usually gets all the transfer talks, all the information. He said Raul Ruiz is 90% close to be coming to Universitario de Deportes. I know you tell me the opposite, so I wanna have some conversations today later on with the people here in Peru. They're like. Because that guy, you know, they listen to the guy. He's well connected, and he usually gets it right. But when it comes from information from Peru, that's a totally different ballpark when the information comes from another country and from another team. But
and that's all I wanted to kind of put together, right? Because I heard those reports as well, and I was attacked, and you have no idea, and you're not a real journalist, and in America, you guys don't really know how transfers work. Look, I can only go by the sourcing, and now I'm talking directly to the general manager. He's telling me there's absolutely nothing. He even, went on to say that there's no reason why they would hide anything for a player that is 6 months into his contract. Of course, you're going to be teams calling at some point. They wouldn't hide it. This team is very open. They've talked about Fluminense's interest for Leo Chu in the past. They've talked about a whole lot of things. There's just no reason for Seattle to hide anything like this. And it was so outrageous, some of the reports that I would see, that Raul clearly didn't play last game because he had a hamstring injury. And there were reports out of Peru that were like, oh, he's not really hurt. He's meeting up with people. No, he wasn't. I mean, he's injured, guys. I mean, come on. That's just plain and simple. So there's always all this back and forth with Peruvian media. And as much as I respect media in Peru, there is a little bit of a need in South America in general to at times make nice big titles, so it creates interaction and clicks and visits to their pages, and that's all right. You know what? That's the way things go. But at the end of the day, I'm coming through with sourcing directly from the club. I'm talking to the protagonist, and believe me, man, I have no need to create any sort of fabricated storylines. I'm just here to just communicate the truth.
Absolutely. And now that's what we call it here, vender humo. That's what they call it here. The silly season, you try to sell something, create smoke that you're having a big barbecue right? But in the end, it's just just burning something else on the side. It's not really a barbecue here. There's not even meat in here. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean,
That's not
his
the thing.
sourcing could be coming from somebody with an agenda. Maybe he's getting this from somebody. I don't know. I can't really comment on where his sourcing is coming from. However, the reality, and after breaking it all down, when it comes to common sense, the reality of the club, it's just at this point there's nothing. And if there was to be an approach, a real offer, I just don't think that it would happen. And again, I've been asked, can it be a loan? It's not going to be a loan. There's no point for Seattle to loan the player. And honestly, I've talked to him several times. He wants to be here until the end of his contract. He's told me before, look, man, I'm focused and I'm just trying to finish my contract here and try to help this team get any sort of hardware, because they'll be playing a semifinal for Open Cup. They're, sixth right now in the West. I mean, they're pushing to try to get some titles.
And now the minutes, the fact that he's not having that many minutes that he used to, is just because of the injuries, or just the tactical decisions too? Or
Well, that's a good question. No, it's honestly a coach's decision. And, before maybe 4-5 games ago, it was on a game-to-game basis. But Jordan Morris, the number 9 of this team, has been in a hot streak, and you got to ride that hot streak. However, Raul Ruiz is always going to look unhappy because he wants to play. He wants to be out there. But he's bought into the fact that, hey, you know what? I'm going to get in here, try to get as many minutes as I can. He came in last night in the 60-something minute. Applauses from everybody. He comes in, creates a couple of opportunities. He has one in front of goal that Berkey stops. But at the end of the day, I think Raul Ruiz understands that here he's going to have to play out the rest of his contract, push up his value by giving this team everything he has, and I see that happening.
And on top of that, he's I don't think I'm wrong on this. He's a legend in Seattle. He's not.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. He's the all-time leading scorer for this club. He's brought a MLS title. He's brought a international CONCACAF Champions League title, and he was a key component in that run. I was there both in Ciudad de Mexico and then back in Seattle for that 2-leg final, and he was crucial. Him and Nicolas Odero were absolute legends in this club.
Absolutely, man. And thank you, Niko, for clarifying this. I'm going to talk to my Peruvian audience after this. Guys, I talked to Niko Moreno. He told me this. Straight up from the GM. So we're going to have a busy morning here after I'm done with you guys. Thank you, Niko.
Nino,
I appreciate you, Nino.
Nino, I appreciate you, my friend. We will catch up with you soon. We'll talk about Nacional Danubio, Sudamericana, Libertadores. You ready to come back next week to talk Sudamericana, Libertadores at 10?
Absolutely, man. Of course.
Right. So then we'll do that. He'll bring his coffee, and we'll go from there. Thank you, my friend. We'll catch up with you next week.
See you guys.
All right. Nino Torres from Gold TV. That's always fun.
I love it. Nice guy.
Yeah, he's very cool. He calls a lot of the action on Gold TV on the English side. He had Nacional and Danubio last weekend, the 6-0 wipeout. And I was watching it, and I was listening to Nino call that match. And I'm WhatsApping with him during the match. It gets to 4, 5, and 6. And I'm like, bruh, the juice boxes in each of these halves were crazy. They were look, if you had taken the plus side on, say, 2.5, in each half, it was 3-0, and then it was 6-0. If you'd taken the juice boxes at over under 2.5 in each 45 minutes, you would have made a fortune.
Oh my!
And I was going back and forth with
start taking that out.
I know I was going back and forth with him about those juice boxes, but no, it's always fun to have Nino on talking about the Copa and everything. We talked about Copa, and we're solving the world's problems, bringing you and Nino together, breaking things down, linking Peru and Washington State. And thank you for doing it.
I love it.
Nick, your first question for Niko here on Thursdays with Niko.
Niko, I want you to talk to management in Seattle, and I need you to put forth the following proposal. Atlanta has money. Raul Ruiz, if he wants more playing time, if he's bought in now, but if that changes, we have money, and we could start him like Saturday. I'm just saying, if he was so interested, I'm just saying we got money. That's it. That's all. I'm just putting it out there. if anyone from Peru is listening, I am not affiliated with any team. So no, Abby, let me negotiate here. Don't try to. She says no. We need a younger player. Sorry, Nick. Abby, do not mess up my negotiations here. This is big time, high stakes, Fortune 500 negotiating. Okay.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing. I'm the anti-LinkedIn bro, but I'm going LinkedIn here. This is business to business right now.
This is all the connections. How crazy, Niko, do you think that this transfer window is going to be in general?
I think it's going to be epic. I think it's going to be one of the biggest ones. Just when you already take into consideration what's coming in, when you take in consideration what's coming out, right? And you go from players like Aiden Morris that have left, and you talk about Giroud that be coming in, and you look at teams like Minnesota, like Charlotte, like Atlanta that have the goods, have the checkbooks, have the open DP spots. I mean, I just think it's going to be an unreal, probably unseen type of transfer window, right? I mean, everybody's trying to get ahead. You have such a tight race for the Shield. What's Cincinnati going to do? Miami's already been linked to a center back. What's going to happen with Columbus? Can they do anything else? Philadelphia, they're talking to Sam Adeniran and reporting from Tom Bogert.
Signed this morning.
Fantastic. Yep. So they're getting something there, but can they bring anything else to just kind of try to get out of that funk that they've been? So I just think that every single team's going to try to be getting better. And this has turned out to be, MLS has turned out to be this new showcase and this new trampoline into bigger leagues that a lot of guys are dying to come in here and make either their time and using this league as a stepping stool to something else, to a better league, or they want to come in here and play their prime. And that's what Atlanta's looking for per Garth Lagerwey. So I just think it's going to be a unforeseen type of transfer window.
Nick, go for it.
Well, I think this is something that, is not really being discussed that much, and I don't know why, but we are probably just now out of the COVID era depression in the transfer markets, right? Where for a period like a year or two after the lockdown seasons, where teams are probably just now, especially over in Europe, getting their financial footing underneath them, and it's sort of resetting the transfer market again.
Yeah.
But now you have players who in these markets that were previously I'm not going to say untapped, because they were rarely tapped, because people didn't necessarily value the North American transfer market quite like they do now, because COVID forced them to shop in a different market than they were used to. And so now that opens the floodgates. Now it's like, okay, we now recognize MLS as a viable arena to go get players from. We now recognize that Canadian players can ball out. We recognize that there are countries in South America outside of Brazil and Argentina to go get players. So to me, this is something that it is going to be an unprecedented transfer market, not just because of the fact that there's probably more money to spend now than there was 2-3 years ago, but now that there's more acceptable markets than there were previously, which at the same time is going to have a bit of an effect on the amount of transfer money spent. Because before, if you went and said, okay, we value the South American player, this Argentine player at like 40 mil. Well, now because we could shop more places, that we're not likely to spend that 40 million on that Argentine player. Now we'll probably spend 25, 30. But that means that there's going to be more opportunities for MLS clubs to come in and say, hey, 10 million, 15 million, we could probably get a lot better player than we were getting 5-10 years ago, because of the way that the market is shaped. So this is going to be an absolutely insane transfer window for a lot of different reasons, but I want people to recognize where we are financially in the world as well.
Yeah, and then Messi's kind of globalized the league. There's so many eyes. You're seeing what Miami's been able to do, the type of talent that they've been able to bring in. I mean, Diego Gomez was fantastic last night, and Redondo was fantastic last night. These are prospects, South American prospects that usually would be in Europe, and they're here. They're playing for your eyes only, right? I mean, look at Gabriel Peck. pace abuser on the right side. I mean, he dominates yesterday with LA Galaxy, just saying, I'm faster, stronger, better than you. I mean, those are the sort of guys that are playing the Sudamericanos. They are, Olympic type of teammates, right? I mean, this is the quality that you have in MLS right now. And with the changes and the additions of separating now the 3DP spots and giving teams the benefit of also going and get U22s and all of the things that have been added to the roster rules, I just think that we're in for one hell of a transfer window here.
You've got the activity that happened last night in midweek weekend, schedule compression, week 72 in a row. And the West is its standard bit of crazy. We're going to do cliffhanger, obviously, here in a little bit with some Cascadia crossover. But right now, the way things stand in the West, it's the three groups. LAG, LAFC, and RSL. And we still don't know specifically what Chicho Arango did to garner a 4-match suspension, and only 2 of them having to do with games inside Major League Soccer's schedule. Hey, Chicho, you can't go to the All-Star game. Oh, no. oh, no. I'll sleep late, And it's like All-Star game, Leagues Cup, and then 2 league matches. We still don't know what is going on there. We know that it was a violation of the anti-harassment policy for Major League Soccer. That's it. Nothing else out of RSL. That's group number 1. Group number 2, Vancouver, Colorado, Seattle, Portland, Houston. And that gets you 4 through 8, 5 teams separated by 4 points. And then 9, 10, 11, Minnesota, Austin, Dallas, all separated by 1 point and various tiebreakers to get you in to the 8-9 to play whomever would be in the 8-9. You mentioned how crazy the transfer window is going to be. Right now, the run-in sounds like it's going to be just as crazy as we had anticipated in the West, with these 3 groups fighting over their 3 separate ideas right now. Who's locked in at home in the top? Who's fighting for that 4 to get the home game? And then who's going to have to either play in or be on the road? So you're going to have just as much fun as in the West as they are in the East with the 3 separate groups.
Yeah, look, I think that the top 3 are locked in. They're going to fight those 3 positions all season long. I still expect LAFC to come out up top. I think that they are going to be the ones that end taking the West. They were my pick at the beginning of the season. They're my pick now still, despite them getting exposed by Columbus, despite them not being able to win a game that they probably should have won, because RSL didn't have Chicho, they didn't have Carlos Gomez. I mean, it seemed like a game that LAFC should have won. They had absences, no Murillo, no Palencia. I mean, I get it. There were also some missing pieces for LAFC, but I feel like they're going to take over. And then the other 2, LAG, just too much firepower. RSL, I expect them to go and get somebody, maybe a 10, maybe give themselves another player out wide. I mean, I just think that RSL will definitely bring in another component to add to that already stellar group up top. So those 3 are locked down. There on out, I think it could be anybody's game, but I feel comfortable enough to say that 4 through 7 are going to be locked into the playoffs. So that leaves those 2 in the back. I think Houston and Minnesota are 2 teams that are not safe. In the general sense of things, I think Minnesota will end up being let out of the playoffs, to be quite frank. I don't see it. I've told you that I feel like they're finally the pumpkin that struck midnight, and everything they were able to do just was a bit of a moment, a bit of a change, but they were exposed. Even if they go and get a couple of guys, I feel like they still need to put together a whole soccer module to work for those new players. Houston, in the other hand, I feel like they're well coached. I feel like Ponce is going to bring a lot of what they haven't had, which is a finisher. They need that TNT. They need that 9 that's different. Sebas has been good, and I mean, unfortunately, his time has run up. And now the new guy's going to come in, but maybe that creates some sort of debate and a positional battle, and we'll see what happens with Houston. But I feel like they'll be in there. But Minnesota is the one that I would take out. And when it comes to Austin or Dallas, I feel like I trust more of the quality that at this particular time Austin can provide with Wolves tactics. So because of that, I feel like it's going to be either Austin or Minnesota at the number 9 position, and that's where it's really going to play out. But everybody else, I feel like they're pretty good. I mean, look at Vancouver, right? They've had their issues. They've had ups and downs this season, but you look at that connection between Brian White and Robbie Gould, and you're like, man, that's going to work. You look at Fafa Picault and how bought in he is, and when he plays that White and what he does. And at times, they have that ability to do certain things where you're like, hey, this is a team that can really compete. Colorado's got a lot of talent. Seattle has a lot of that shield, that history behind them. We'll see what happens with Peppo. I think Stephen Fry is looking really good. He picks up his 7th shutout of the season. He gets 112 for his career. He's number 2, only behind Nick Raimondo. So it's going to be those teams that really come out. But Portland, to me, when I look at that attack, when I look at that roster, they're the team I don't want to see in the playoffs. Okay. I mean, you saw how they dismantled and what they did to RSL. That 3-0 was telling. And the way Santi Moreno's playing and the way Jonathan Rodriguez has bought in, the way Felipe Mora has been playing, I mean, that team is really, really powerful up top. And they can be in any game. Evander has been fantastic. I think that this team is really, they could really give some trouble to any team in the West in the playoffs.
All right. Time for cliffhanger, and I'm going to use you both. And we're going to focus on the games out west because the by the way, what's the mug and what coffee? What cup of coffee are you on?
Oh, I mean, this is number 3. This is number 3, and it's my regular Pike Place roast. It's been one hell of a night. I obviously was at the game last night. Right. My son was doing a communications thing with the Sounders as well, so he was at the press conference. He asked some questions. It was pretty cool to have my son there. Then we came back, and there was a Netflix series, Cobra Kai, that has a new season, so I had to watch a couple of episodes with him. Yeah. So it was at 3 a.m. that I went to sleep, man. So I'm over here just on fumes. So this is my 3rd cup of coffee. Wow. I think it's starting to kick in.
Okay, well, nothing wrong with Cobra Kai in the final season. And by the way, I hate to break it to folks, but there are folks that believe that Daniel LaRusso was the true villain in the Karate Kid.
He was. I mean, look, man, Johnny wasn't doing anything wrong. Who muscled in on the woman? Daniel LaRusso. Who started Daniel LaRusso? Who punked Johnny in the bathroom by pouring stuff on him when he was on the toilet? Daniel LaRusso.
I've heard that. But you know what?
You tell me anybody who's sitting on a toilet and gets water dumped on them, if you're not going DEFCON 1, you tell me, oh, it's okay, Daniel, it's all right. Nope. And then you got to watch Daniel LaRusso parade around with your girl after he front kicks you in the face in a karate tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see that. Yeah. I'm still Miyagi-Do, but you know what? That's all right.
Oh my God! Yeah, but he look, man. Miyagi is Obi-Wan, who trained Anakin Skywalker. Daniel Russo's Anakin Skywalker.
Ooh, look at that! Wow,
right? A good man trained a bad guy. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and then of course he went to do car dealerships, so we know how this rolls.
Is there anyone worse than people who run car dealerships?
That's why I was brought that in.
I'm not arguing that at all.
We got a couple of games out west that I wanted to get your thoughts on, and I'm going to go open mic with the two of you. Colorado hosting RSL. Colorado right now is at a -103. Draws a +285. RSL's a +240. Obviously, no Chicho. Niko, what do you think?
Man, as much as I would like to, I mean, it's a tough one because I like Pablo, and I saw him talking last night, and I know he's a motivator. I think Colorado has done their work. I think Bassett is having a real good season. I think Navarro is doing his thing. I do think that they're going to miss Chicho, and I feel like Colorado could get this one. And what did you say the number was on Colorado?
-103, just barely.
-103. Yeah, so I want nothing to do with that at all. But I really do think Colorado can potentially take this. If not, maybe they'll push for a draw. But I feel like yesterday I saw an RSL team that without certain components could have some issues.
Nick. I think I've stunned him.
No, I was on mute. I'm over here looking at the numbers. I'll take Colorado.
Okay.
And Derek, is it that hot of a take? Is it that hot of a take? Derek?
No, I mean, but you're I mean, Seattle and LAFC. Seattle at home, a plus 148. Draws a plus 242. LAFC on the road up north. 1040 kicks Saturday night is a plus 173. Niko, what do you think?
Woo! That's a tough one. Look, Seattle's been great. They've only lost 2 of their last 18 in all competitions. I feel like Albert Rusnak has finally become that 10 that this team needs. Jordan Morris is on a hot streak. Last night we saw Raul come in, Jordan get pushed to the right side. They created some opportunities. That said, I feel like LAFC is unlike anything they've seen in those 19 games. I feel like LAFC is anything like what they've seen in their last 6 games in which they have won all of them. They've won their last 5 at home. I think they'll draw because I feel like they are going to try to minimize Denis Bouanga. They're going to try to control Kike Oliveira. And they're going to hope that Jordan Morris is on a good one on a counter. They're going to overpopulate that midfield and try to challenge Atuesta and Ilie. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's a lot of firepower for Seattle to get that win. They'll play maybe a little bit more conservative, and I think there'll be a draw.
Nick.
LAFC.
Okay.
Straight up.
Last match is the 10:45, which to me looks like it's going to be the free TV side match with LAG hosting Portland Timbers.
Ooh.
LAG is a minus 137. Draw is a plus 337 in the composite. And Portland is a plus 295 on the road at LAG.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
I like it. What's the goal compass? Because I'm taking the goals, and I'm taking 4.5. So tell me that.
All right, hang on. Let me see what 4.5 is. So you're expecting a shootout. So 4.5 is a plus 185.
Ooh, yeah. Give me 4.5, and I'm gonna go all out, right? And I'm gonna take the draw.
Okay.
I'm gonna take the draw. End of 4.5. So how about a 3? Oh well, I guess I could go 5.5. But no, you know what? No. That's too much. There's too much good stuff there going on. Let me go LA Galaxy, and let me go 4.5.
Okay. So
let's leave it.
All right. So you got your plus 185 at 4.5 and your minus 137 on the Galaxy. So that way you're still coming out on the plus side if your parlay hits. Nick.
Exactly. Because look, I think it's going to be a great game. I really do think there's going to be a lot of goals. Both have a lot of firepower on the offensive end. Both huge deficiencies on the defensive end. But I trust the balance of LA Galaxy's midfield to protect themselves with the ball and be able to maybe change the pace, and maybe Ricky gets on the ball a lot more. Fagundes, I think that there's more options on that midfield. Love Evander, and like what Timbers does with the ball at times, but I feel like they're more of a one speed type of team, while LA Galaxy can do a lot of other things with it. So I'll take Galaxy.
Nick.
I think getting to Nico's point here, look, when you look at the goals forced, goals allowed, right? So we go Portland, we got 48 goals forced, 39 goals allowed. LA Galaxy, 47 goals forced, 34 allowed, right? So to me, I think if you start looking at it from that perspective, Galaxy's ability to control the midfield, just like Niko was talking about, to me, I think that's going to be the difference maker. Ricky Puig, is there anybody who's like a better heel right now than Ricky Puig? Anybody can get under anyone's skin. He's so good technically. He's tiny. It looks like he should be able to run him over, but yet he just pisses everyone off. He's a card magnet. So I'm just going to go. I think that it's going to be Puig. He's going to be the star. He's going to get some Portland some card trouble early, and I'm going to see Galaxy running away with this one.
All right. So Niko, you're on your third cup of coffee. What's going on with you, Pulso Sports and the Soccer Bar?
All right, Soccer Bar starts in 40 minutes. We're going to be getting a lot into some of these matchups. We're going to talk about that big three on both sides, the east side and the west side. The Shield race, man, is kind of moving around. Cincinnati, back-to-back losses. They've had some issues, both when it comes to not having Lucho, all the way to their back line and some of the things that have gone on. Noonan gets a red card.
Yeah. Oh, man. That was.
I mean, it seems like Powell lost his mind as well. I mean, it was just so many things wrong with Cincinnati. When in Miami is doing the opposite, man. They're kind of playing their race, doing what they do. So it's going to be fun. I still think Columbus is the best team in MLS. I feel like they're the most complete. I feel like you see that in the goal differential. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And when it comes to Puzo Sports, we won't have anything until tomorrow, but we're going to have a nice little breakdown of the LAFC game. We might bring ourselves a nice little guest to talk about LAFC. And of course, we'll be at training, getting you all the best information from Brian, from whoever they give us available. I did promise a Yemer Gomez Andrade interview, so I will do that. Fans want to hear from him. He's a guy that has reached over 100 games with the Sounders. He's been unbelievable. So expect that as well in Pulso Sports.
As always, my friend, great to catch up with you. Enjoy your third cup of coffee and get your quick nap in. Get your cat nap before you do the stuff coming up in 40 minutes. Great to see you, my friend. We'll see you next week.
It's good seeing you guys. Have a good one.
All right. That's Niko. And Niko is going to enjoy his cup of coffee. So, Nick, we had a show today.
Yeah, we did.
We're solving the world's transfer issues with the Raul Ruidiaz situation in Peru. We had Nico Moreno talking to Nino Torres in Peru about the whole thing. And so now I just have this vision of Nino going out onto his deck and just like yelling that, no, Ruidiaz is not coming. And, and people like throwing stuff up to his balcony at him, those kinds of things. That is not the news we needed to hear, So we're solving the world's transfer issues. Great to catch up with Willie Davis, the head coach of North Carolina Courage, as they're getting ready for their national championship game in USLW against Colorado Storm Saturday night at 6, and breaking down everything that happened with Atlanta United and NYC in the half hour that we had in between Willie Davis and hour number 2. What else have we learned today?
I mean, I don't know about if I necessarily learned anything other than I could probably listen to a show with those two, no problem, because it's, and I think it really, okay. I did learn something here.
Oh, okay.
And I did learn something. Let me go. This is the time of year when not just on the soccer side, but life in general, people are putting out what they call news, which is more so newsertainment, to get clicks and views and engagement, and people will toss out engagement bait. All right. If you see something that comes across your timeline and your first reaction is, gotta click it, just take a moment, look at it again, and ask yourself, is this engagement bait? Is somebody just trying to get my time and my engagement with this particular post? Because this is so stupid. I don't know if I feel like I can correct this. You can't.
Yes.
You can't.
No.
Okay. You can't correct them. Just let it go. People will say your favorite player is trash. People will say that there's no way in the world that this, that your God tier player matches up with this absolute mid. If your first blush reaction is to engage, step back. That's all I'm saying. That's what I learned.
Okay. And I learned that we can unite continents and solve the world's transfer issues at the beginning of the opening of the transfer window. And as we always say when we come into transfer windows, check your sources, check your sources, check your sources. Because we have our tier ones, we have our A-siders, we have the ones that are B+ players. We do have some Bs that we pay attention to occasionally. And then to Nick's point, We have the Engage clickers. We have the ones that are taking the plate of food in front of them and throwing it onto the wall and seeing how well the Dixie plate handled the mass hitting the wall and the wallpaper in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Check your sources, check your sources, check your sources, because this window will be stupid.
Yep.
Not just for Atlanta United, but for any and all clubs, because we know some clubs are bringing in very handsome men, getting ready for the handsome man calendar of Major League Soccer. We know that folks are going to be testing the limits of the salary cap and working their NIL deals so they don't have to worry about the limits to the salary cap, because we've seen it. Check your sources, not just in this continent, but the origin of the news or reports itself. If it's a dude that's got, 1,200 followers and he's writing stuff out of his mom's basement and doing stuff on a green screen that looks a little fishy, you might not want to pay attention to those kinds of reports.
I mean, not even that. I don't even think it's that anymore, because you have established names, big names, tons of followers, organizations, tons of followers who are now getting caught up in engagement bait.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's, do your own research, check your sources, match up with what's being said across 2, 3, 4, 5 different verified sources.
Yes.
Come to your own conclusion.
Cross-reference the reports that come across your desk and all of your tweet decks and those kinds of things.
Hey, baby, you're the product.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You're the product.
Yeah.
On social media, you're the product.
Mm-hmm.
They need you to work.
Yes.
Okay? You are the fuel. Your clicks, your views, your time spent on page, you are the fuel. So just to have that out there. Yeah. So engagement bait, it's real.
Yes.
It's the currency of the modern media.
Yes. So once again, thanks to our friends at North Carolina Courage. Thanks to Nino, who joined us from Peru. If you don't have Gold TV and you want to see what's going on with Nino on a weekly basis and a daily basis, you can get it at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And you get just as locked into Fanatis and Central and South American soccer as we do now. Jason got me hooked. I blame him. That's how I can have discussions about Danubio and Nacional and 6-0 blowouts with our buddy Nino Torres. Always great to have Niko Moreno coming on to discuss things from the Pacific perspective, and to have Nick come on and bring in questions that under no circumstance would I have thought of. And that's why we have all of these different voices come in here every day and bring all of our different viewpoints, having Jarrett come in for a little while to discuss Atlanta United and NYC. Tomorrow on the show, hopefully we can catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring for a little bit. I know at 10 o'clock we're going to have the head coach of Loudoun United dropping by to talk about their season and what they've been able to do now that they are detached from DC United and doing well in USL Championship. I'm fairly certain that John Schuster is going to want to drift in, because in the NPSL playoffs last night, man, we didn't even get the chance to get into that either. NPSL and USL League 2 had their midweek matches to get ready for the weekend. Duluth FC went on the road to Des Moines, won last night. And because of that, they now have to travel. As Schusty let us know, they have to travel to Pittsburgh for the next round. So you had Duluth win 2-0 last night. They're going to Steel City for the Midwest Region Final. That is in 2 days' time. It's on Saturday night. Last night, West Texas beat OKC 1889. They advance. They will host Columbus United, who went to Hickory and beat Hickory FC. So we'll see if we can track down Brett Teach and find out what's going on as they figure out how they're going to travel from Columbus, Georgia to West Texas FC for Saturday night. East Region, FC Motown beat Virginia Dream in a battle of ex-MLS players. Bill Hamid is playing at Virginia Dream this season. New York Shockers beat Westchester United. So it's at FC Motown in that particular East Region final as well. USL League 2, and I've got to do this before we go and find out what else is on the television today. You had playoffs happen last night, and I've got to find out, let's see, schedule. Maybe schedule will give it to me if I click the right thing, Nick. I don't know what I'm staring at here. So if I'm looking at 16, 17, so playoffs, you had everything lining up for tomorrow. So tomorrow lines up everything. Your opening round, Vermont Green beat Reading United as a big underdog. Western Mass beat FC Motown as an underdog. And Virginia Beach United beat South Carolina United Bantams. So Vermont Green, Western Mass, and Virginia Beach all make it into the next round. They're going to be playing in the round of 32. That is tomorrow in USL League 2. So all of that. Let's see, what to watch and where to watch it. Now I'm finally catching up with all of the things in my brain here. What to watch, where to watch it. And gossip, rumor, and innuendo, check your sources, and don't do anything involving the 3 or the 4-letter paper, because you take that information at your own peril. Today, Sudamericana, 6 and 8:30 on BN and BN Espanol. We already talked about Fanatis, Palestino, and Cuyaba, LDU Quito, and our boys at Always Ready. You have to be in this business. Canadian Premier League on Fox Soccer Plus at 6, Halifax and Valor. Paramount Plus has the Argentine Primera, 4:45, Argentinos Juniors and Tigre. Independiente Rivadavia and Gimnasia La Plata is at 6. Instituto and Independiente is at 8. That's a show. Well, we blew right through all of the stoplights and all of that kind of stuff, because there's all that much to talk about. So, Nick, since you are no longer here, I'm going to whistle us out.